Thank you all for coming.
Okay.
The first item of business, recording of members and guests present, introductions as needed. Do we have maybe that's what Adele went to get, a sign-in sheet?
We've got one going around.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, thank you. Any introductions? We have a newly elected board member, Lauren Herbert.
She left.
Maybe we should reserve for a little bit of time. Thanks, everybody. I do appreciate a vote of confidence. I feel very welcome on the board. Thanks, Harley.
The first thing that we do after an election is board organization. And so we need to elect board officers. We have a motion for chair.
Would you like to make a motion for chair? I would like to make a motion that Harley be reappointed for chair.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Treasurer. Do we have a motion for treasurer?
I'd like to make a motion for treasurer. The fabulous Catherine Lawrence. I would like to make a motion for you to remain treasurer.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Any discussion? Let the punishment continue.
Can I have a point of, you have it further down, but I just want to let the board know that you need to be thinking about a replacement in a year.
Thank you for saying that one more time.
Oh,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I did have a question though, because it kind of went quickly, but would you be willing to train somebody? who
Yes,
might be interested
absolutely.
in that,
That's-
like, during this
yep.
year?
yep.
Cool.
Is there a motion for secretary?
I would like to move that Grace, if she is willing, continue as secretary.
Is there a second?
I'd second that.
Discussion.
It's okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have a secretary. This came up in discussions with the lawyer. There'll be two elements of this meeting, perhaps future meetings, where I have to recuse myself. So the lawyer said, well, ask your vice chair, which we have not had a vice chair. So for this interim period, I would like the board to consider creating a vice chair position. It is not explicit in our bylaws, but we need a vice chair just to conduct the meeting when I need to recuse myself. Is there a motion to create that position?
Does that require a adjustment of the bylaws?
We will do this and have it in the meetings, and we will be updating our bylaws, and I think this would be a shortcoming in the bylaws that we should address.
Well, I noticed that maybe they've always had that the select board has a vice chair.
I noticed that also.
And a lot of library boards have vice chairs.
I think most boards do, so that even if the chair is absent, for example, it smoothly goes forward. So is there a motion to create a vice chair position?
I'll make a motion to nominate Jeremy as vice chair.
To create the position is,
To create the position.
and to, you can make the motion whatever you want.
To create the position and to nominate Joni.
Okay. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay. Is there discussion?
So are you changing the bylaws?
We are not changing the bylaws at this point.
Do you want to just call Joni, we'll have Joni act as chair for this next meet, for whatever period of time that you have to recuse yourself? Do you want to make it a temporary thing if you haven't changed your bylaws yet? It seems you got the cart before the horse, so.
Right. We are responding rapidly to circumstances.
What does it take to change?
I think you've taken
Can we change the bylaw tonight?
I think that has to be warned.
Oh, it has to
Look
be
at the
warned?
bylaws.
Yes, it is a process. Plus, there's other things that can be updated in the bylaws.
Right, but I mean, this one is more, priority.
So,
We don't have to do it all at once.
if I understand, Sue, your suggestion is that we create some kind of title, not vice chair.
No.
Not even a title, just when you have to recuse yourself, just say, Joni, would you just
State of
please
protocol.
act as chair for this?
State protocol, like that you were.
Okay.
You don't have to do,
I think there's a difference.
I think, is at the end of my sentence.
What
I think you'd be
does,
better off.
okay, we have a motion and seconded, but do we want to adjust the motion in response to this suggestion?
I think it's a good question. I think that, I think the board has to decide whether or not they want to change one bylaw before revising all the bylaws, because I think there's some updating that could be done in order to accommodate this, or we do what maybe Sue is suggesting by just appointing you temporarily when you recuse yourself. I think there is, I know it's nuanced, but I think it matters, so.
Yes, I like it. I think it's cleaner versus the cart before the horse. Thank you, Sue. Are you willing to adjust the motion to, I could just ask,
Take it back.
Or just vote it down.
okay.
I don't know.
All in favor of the motion on the floor? Opposed?
We're all opposed.
We're all opposed.
Motion does not carry.
Amend.
No, do I have the authority to ask someone to act as chair when I have to recuse myself? Act as chair. Let's assume I do. Anyone else who, extensive experience? Where's Mr. Kravitz? He's served on boards longer than all of us put together. Okay.
I have a suggestion.
Yes, sir.
Perhaps you could have a chairman who's not in legal trouble, and that would solve the problem.
Huh. I don't think the chairman's in legal trouble.
But, I mean,
Thank you.
it's not that you're in legal trouble, but the fact that there's any open investigation, it just is, I'm sure that it's all gonna resolve itself. It just does make a conflict. It does create a conflict.
And I will recuse myself when that is a conflict. I will ask Joni to act as chair when I have to recuse myself. Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you, Sue.
I may or may not have helped.
Adopt rules of procedure, including comments, protocol, meeting times, meeting announcements. So we announced the meeting at Town Hall, when we warn the meeting. We do it at Town Hall, both post offices and here at the library. Does anyone on the board think that that is deficient in any way?
I have a question. Would you consider putting it out publicly, like an email list or some kind of notification? I know that goes to the town clerk, but the time, sometimes I think there's a lag. to the time.
Yes, there is a lag, because if we don't get it there,
Right.
on Wednesday, the
Right.
town office is closed.
Right, I see.
And the library does have an email list. Would you make a note of that to, what does the board have a sense of that?
So where did you say that it gets posted? It gets posted at the town hall, gets posted at the post office,
Both post offices?
it goes out on Front Porch Forum.
No, that, I didn't list that as one of the things we do, although I try to get that.
That I saw it there.
That's not really.
It's not consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've submitted it and not seen it until after the meeting or.
Oh, it depends on when they publish.
Yes.
Okay.
However, I think that's a very easy thing. And then on the library's list, is that amenable?
Is it on the library's website?
Or Facebook.
I think it goes on Facebook.
No, it does, not always.
Mm-mm.
No, I looked for it.
Facebook email list. And library website. That seems to hit everything. And I think, my preference is to hit everything and make it pretty turnkey. So far, the only time-consuming thing is getting over to West Pawlet. I don't know how the town select board meetings get posted there. I'm not sure if somebody drives there or not.
Deb drives over.
Oh, she drives over. Okay, so that's what I've been
So that
doing.
can have a lag also.
Yes, but that's what I've been doing, and there's not a simpler way of just hitting,
No.
please post. So, thank you.
You can always, like, I can take that on if you'd like, because I have a hop, skip, and a jump.
Yes, thank you. So that's the meeting announcements and meeting times. We have, it's been slightly ad hoc rather than the first Tuesday of the month because sometimes that conflicts with the select board meetings, which I would like to avoid since I think it's important to be able to attend the select board meetings without missing this meeting. So does the first Tuesday not in conflict, is there a better time? Is first let's talk 5:30, is 5:30 good? Okay,
That was 6 foot of a
That was a yine, yeah, no.
little kid.
I have little kids, and so
Right.
5:30 is a little tricky because it hits right at dinner hour, and so
Right.
I'm always scooting out while everybody's, so it's fine, if it's fine for everybody else.
We used to have them at 6,
But that's in the
but,
dark in the winter.
well, I don't think that was the issue. I think the issue was that we would have it at 5:30 and be done by 7 so that whoever wanted to go to the select board meeting could do that. But we haven't been done quite as efficiently lately.
yes,
5:30 is, if it's me who's.
5:30 is okay, and the first Tuesday not in conflict with the select board meeting, is that amenable?
If it is, what are we gonna do?
Oh,
Have it on
no,
the second
first
Tuesday?
Tuesday not in conflict, so if the select board meeting is on the first Tuesday, then our meeting will be on the second Tuesday.
Fine with me.
Okay. Rules of procedure, I did find a wonderful,
Can we just, sorry, can you just clarify that?
yes,
So,
if I understand correctly, the meetings will remain at 5:30 PM
yeah,
on the first Tuesday that is not concurrent with a select board meeting.
and if it is, if there's a conflict, it'll move to the second,
It's
which is,
the
okay.
next
Okay,
Tuesday.
thanks. Sorry, just make sure.
Any other comments about this? Okay, rules of procedure. Yes, I found a great website, but the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, but I have to adopt it for our particular board. I will adopt it and present it at the next meeting, rules of procedure. They are adopted usually at the organizational meeting, at least using the select board as an example. And it seems like a good thing, because then with that in, place, then we have, we have a structure, especially if comments, if there's a lot of comments, or just a guide to behavior. I will present that next time. Review of operating norms. Catherine?
Focus on agenda topics, be open-minded, have respect for each other, value different viewpoints, be responsive and responsible to our community, referencing the strategic plan, make decisions based on data and facts, listen to each other, be reflective, and run meetings that respect time, have concise agendas, and are transparent.
Thank you. Public comment. Yes,
Thank you.
Rhonda.
So I'm a little overdue, and Harley and I chatted about my letter at the end of the select board meeting. So I am finally presenting a letter that was shared with the select board, with the intention of sharing with the library board, but I don't know, either the meetings haven't happened or I haven't been able to join. So this is dated January 29th, but I think it's still timely. So I'll just read it, and I have copies.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm writing to express, and this is to the Pawlet Select Board and the Pawlet Library Board, I'm writing to express my concern once again about the governance of our community library. Over the past months, I have joined dozens of other community members in raising questions about the transparency and accountability of the library board. The library is a community good. The board has been entrusted by the community to govern it. It must do so within prescribed rules and guidelines, and it must do so in a way that reflects our community's values and ethics. Concerns about the board's capacity to govern were opened by the events surrounding the dismissal of the library director in late 2023. Closer scrutiny of the board's practices has only raised more and broader questions. These questions include, first, have all board members been trained in proper rules, guidelines, and procedures, including specific obligations for officers? This need is also reflected in the 2019 to 2023 strategic plan, specifically governance item 2. For organizational stability, board members avail themselves of board development training and resources offered in person and online by the Vermont Department of Libraries and establish orientation for new board members. The second question is, what measures is the board taking to strengthen its own practices, including training on basic governance and reviewing its procedures in terms of transparency, fair employment practices, and other aspects of ethical and equitable conduct? This measure would be built on a specific requirement in the 2019 to 2023 strategic plan. Governance item 3, comply with best library practices. The board completes the full roster of recommended policies and annually reviews existing policies. And the third question is, what are the board's processes to demonstrate accountability and assess and improve its performance? This should include 360-degree performance reviews with the library director and the community. The board's past response to these and many other questions has been disappointing. I urge the members of the Pawlet Library Board to consider how its ways of working are undermining public trust. I encourage the board to take actions to reflect on and correct its own performance and communicate the measures it is taking to sincerely Rhonda.
Thank you. Thank you, Rhonda. And we'll have copies because it's pretty. Questions from the board? Further comments? Ruth?
Has the hiring section been eliminated from the, when I saw the original warning go out, there's a section, is that further down?
That's further down.
Further down? Okay. So, you all know it's Ruth Lankey. I've been asking both at this meeting and at select board meetings that both boards pursue mediation rather than litigation to resolve the problem of Lindsay's firing. And I just wanted to say that I find the fact that you're undertaking a hiring process to be problematic, as that seems to send an unmistakable message that the board does not intend to negotiate or enter mediation with librarian Lindsay Barnes. I feel that that puts Lindsay in the difficult position where, in order to seek justice and to get her job and livelihood back, she'll be forced to seek legal action against the town. Since the library is part of the town, it's one legal entity, so it wouldn't just be a library issue, it would become a town lawsuit. Now that it has become public that Lindsay filed a harassment claim 5 weeks before she was fired, does the board feel that they have saddled the town with a strong case? For myself, I don't think the public has the stomach to legally defend any member of the board from the consequences of their own actions. Enough damage has been done. I feel that digging in and pulling some unwary job applicants into the mix feels cruel. I get that no one thinks they did wrong, but wrong happened. And making that into another town lawsuit is not going to make a right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth.
Joanne.
Really whining for a second. Thank you, Joanne.
It's Joanne. I think I'm going to try to take things in a little different direction here. When I moved to Pawlet 16 years ago, I knew very few people. Beth Kashner, the librarian, let me, a newly retired librarian, establish a book discussion group called the Pawlet Tea Read. It is still in existence today. We had a meeting today, 16 years later. Through this group, I have met many intelligent people and established wonderful friendships. However, this library at times no longer feels welcoming. There are neighbors disagreeing with neighbors at library board meetings. Disparaging remarks are being made at the circulation desk about a previous employee. And now we have a special interest group or a person paying the lawyer to represent the library. We are not corporate America with the "you're fired" mentality. We are a small town Pawlet where citizens respect one another and employees. And this is the Pawlet I have grown to love. Since Lindsay Barnes has been let go, decisions are being made, I feel, as a librarian, that are not in the best interests of the library. And this should be a concern to the library board and to the community. I did a little research. Over 36% of the population of Pawlet is over the age of 60. There are very few programs for this age group. I don't see any programs for elementary school students, homeschoolers, or the young adult population. There has been a definite lack of literature-based programs. This is a library. This has not been deemed a community center. Holiday programs are being given for families, which is fine, it's very nice. But is it the place to have them here if you're not going to promote the literature? That is the most important job of a librarian. Numerous fiction books have been ordered with little regard to reviews. In 2024 alone, 31 adult fiction books have been purchased, but only 9 nonfiction books, 3 children's books, 3 YA, and a couple audiobooks. It is obvious to me that we need a professional librarian here at the Pawlet Library to try to put things back straight again. I have 2 questions for the board, and I'd like them to answer. The first question is, what plans does the library board have to either reinstate our professional librarian, Lindsay Barnes, or to hire a professional librarian? And the second question, which really upsets me, is that what plans does the library board have to repair the damage done to our town and to our library as a result of negative press?
Thank you, Joanne.
Can the board answer the questions, Harley, or that's not allowed?
We did dismiss the previous director, who certainly had credentials and fits every definition of professional librarian. But we found it necessary to dismiss her. So we will be hiring a librarian. I hope to involve community members, and with the board's permission, when that topic comes up, ask you specifically to be part of that with your experience and viewpoints. So that answers the first question. As to the second question, repair damage, no one on the board was responsible for negative press. And no one on the board.
Okay, so the situation kind of.
I will finish.
Sorry, I shouldn't interrupt. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, but I will let you, give you a moment. I don't see that the board can control negative press. That is, negative press, as pointed out at the last meeting by Jessica Van Oort, is something a lot of people don't want to see. But I believe that if you believe sincerely you've been wronged, you have the absolute right to approach the Fourth Estate and get publicity for your cause. And I believe that right far outweighs the negative press aspects against Pawlet. So that is acceptable. As far as repairing damage, we need to move ahead and make sure that the library is fully staffed. That is the board's responsibility, and that's what we will do. Wait 1 second. Did you want to respond?
The only thing I'd like to respond is that perhaps the board could consider putting out some positive feedback as to what is happening at the library, they moving forward.
We do try to advertise programs.
Excuse me. I would like to speak. Can you see me? I can't see you because of the light. Sorry. There has been a story hour for children ages 0 to 6 or 7 that has been going on monthly since January.
Yes.
And has been attracting between 16 and 22 children every time. So
that's wonderful. So
And
take
then-
a picture of those children
Great.
and put it in the newspaper and say, yes, we are doing something good at the Pawlet Library. That's what I'm referring to.
that's tricky though, because a lot of the families are asking that their children not have their photos on social media, or so it's a privacy issue too with taking photos of children. But I do hear that there also has been there's a program for seniors. Was that last weekend?
Yep, Saturday we had an AARP meeting here about fraud, and only 6 people showed up for it.
So I hear that.
And we advertised, we've sent out a mass email to everybody.
There also
Put it
has
on our front porch, we put it on Front Porch Forum, we put it on Facebook, we put it on our website, we even put it in the Free Press.
There's also been a very vibrant homeschool community that's begun since January that has between 6 and 8 families every week. So
that's what people need to hear.
great.
Yes.
So you're right, the legwork of getting that PR out does need to happen, but there are those programmings happening.
Thank
You're welcome, and thank you for your comment.
Sue.
To say that the library board's not responsible for bad press is ridiculous. When you fired Lindsay via email with no explanation and no notice, that was so negative. That was the beginning of the negative press, when people found out about it. If we'd never found out about it, which is probably what was wanted, considering how it was done, then there wouldn't be any bad press. But anyway, you're not taking responsibility for what you did and how poorly you did it by firing Lindsay the way you did. It's just ridiculous. But I have a couple of questions here. Are the new prospects that you may be interviewing for Lindsay's job, are they going to be told that the board chair is accused of harassment? That the former library director was fired with no notice and no reason given? That she was micromanaged by the board and trashed by the library assistant and a volunteer?
What?
Oh, yeah.
Excuse
Look,
me.
She's gonna want that job. I mean, how, until this gets cleaned up, you're not gonna find anybody. And you shouldn't even be taunting people to come in and look for a job when nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. I think Lindsay should be reinstated.
Thank you, Sue. I don't believe many of the assumptions and assertions just made are correct.
Was she
I would-
fired with no notice or no reason given?
The assumption is that when you are fired, you should be given notice and a reason given, and that assumption is false.
And never tell her what she did wrong in your eyes.
It's important, it's really
That's
important.
ridiculous.
We've been listening
And
to
you
this
didn't
for
micromanage
3
her.
months.
You didn't go over her head and try to do things and take care of volunteers and take care and do what you wanted with volunteers when that's the library director's job is to oversee volunteers. You didn't do that.
No.
Of course you didn't. Of course you didn't.
Yes, okay. Barbara?
I have a question. The way you fired her by sending that email, and the way you're now looking for a new library director.
We do not have a library director right now, correct?
I know, but you're looking for one. I thought
It
you
is
said
the
that.
board's responsibility to ensure that the library is
So
staffed.
to me, that's sort of in the same vein. It's sort of a slap in the face. We're going ahead, this has not been resolved, this whole issue. And you're out there looking for a library director. To me, it sounds like you have somebody in the wings who you would like to instate as library director. And to me, it doesn't look very nice because we're in a small town. Let's do things in a nice way.
To my knowledge, at least as far as I know, I have no one in the wings
Okay.
wanting to be library director. There was something else you said, though, that is frankly false, but now I'm drawing a blank on what it is. Oh, when matters are not resolved. Matters, as far as the board is concerned, are resolved.
Well, could you say what was resolved? Could you share
Yes, that we found it necessary to dismiss the library director. We dismissed the library director, and the board is searching for a new library director.
You're not saying why.
I'm sorry.
Why the library director was dismissed.
Now, we have gone over this a number of times. The board is not at liberty to disclose why.
So to us, it hasn't been settled.
There's uncertainty as to why in your mind. And that is due to the conflict between right to privacy and knowing the truth of things. Kena?
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I've been in the town for 4 years. I live across the street, so I'm in and out of the library a lot. I have a couple of questions. Number one, I'd like to know if the board feels that the dismissal of Lindsay was handled professionally and the way they would want to be treated as a member of such a small community. Because everything I've heard and seen, I'm shocked and disappointed that a position so prominent as the library director would be treated this way So my number one question is, does the board feel the dismissal was handled appropriately? Because from what I've been told and learned, it was sent by email and the director was not provided a reason why. So my second question is, has the board provided Lindsay personally and privately, because it is a job, the reason why? Because that's part of the problem, in my view, of the lingering perception of the community that we're moving ahead with something when a lot of the community feels if I can speak for them, feels that the situation was not handled. It's not closed, it's still open. I understand the rights of employment, that's fine. But something has to be said to the community to convince us that she was treated properly and professionally. There was a legitimate reason, whatever that was, that's between you and the board and her. I don't need to know that. But when I've seen multiple people and the director come to the meeting saying, I don't know why I was fired, that's a concern. I expect the board that's elected by the townspeople to be more professional and compassionate. This is a small town. This isn't corporate America. So does the board feel that she was handled and dismissed professionally? Because all I keep hearing is she was sent an email, and that's not professional. I expect more of you guys. I'm sorry, but I do. If it was me in that position, I would have expected, unless there was theft or gross negligence, some kind of warning, some kind of performance plan to say you have this many months to fulfill your position the way we expect you to fulfill it. And if that wasn't provided, that's not professional, and I think that everybody in this town has a right to question that. The board's moving ahead. It is your obligation to have a director. We want a director. But we also want to feel that the director that may come next is going to be treated professionally and not the way the last one was. So does the board honestly feel, Harley, that she was treated professionally? I mean, I think you have a government background and you've experienced government employment situations, law. That's not the way you treat people when someone has done something inappropriate at their job, if she even did, I don't know. But that's not the way. You just don't go in and fire someone by email. You give them a chance to do the right thing. Unless it's gross negligence, somebody should not be fired on the spot with no warning by email. And that's what I think so many people in the town are so upset about. And the board hides behind it's a personnel matter. Okay, that is a personnel matter, absolutely. I don't want to know what the reason was that you felt she needed to be fired. I want to know why the board handled it the way they did. And I think that might help some of us feel that this situation has been concluded appropriately, because most of us are still sitting here saying, what? What is going on? Why isn't the board answering any of these questions? You're elected by us. Please answer some of the questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will ask the board in a minute if they want to share feelings. I will answer your question, which is this, that you are aware of some of the things that happened. Mm-hmm. And you make assumptions in your statement that are not true. And to correct those assumptions would require disclosing personnel matters. I am constrained and also choose not to disclose personnel matters. So the assumptions are incorrect.
I'll accept
Sue's
that.
assumptions are incorrect.
Oh, no.
Your assumptions are incorrect. Your assumptions are incorrect.
Then how come you
But
can't
only
say...
your assumptions are correct,
How
right?
come you can't say a meeting was held with her, the situation was resolved to her satisfaction, or there was a meeting held, we discussed it and disclosed to her why this happened this way? Has that happened?
We have offered that. It was not accepted. Sir, can you introduce yourself, please?
On advice of counsel, I'm withholding my name.
There you go.
Are you a Pawlet resident?
On advice of counsel, I'm not answering that question.
Thank you. Other questions?
I'd like to make a comment as the newest board member, and I mean, I think everybody knows the history enough to know that I wasn't a part of the board when all this transpired. But I do appreciate the vote of confidence from my fellow community members to be a part of the board and try to find a path forward of accountability and perhaps governance that makes everyone more comfortable. And I think, you know, we're lucky enough to live where we do, where you can, your voices can be heard at the voting polls. And so if the board is acting in a way that people aren't comfortable with, then it's going to take time, but you have to then stay current, keep coming to the meetings, keep asking your questions, keep participating in the library in these meetings. All the things that everyone's saying, I totally understand and value your opinions. And there's a lot for me to learn and to get my bearings. But again, like, you know, having had children go through the school system, like if I'm not pleased with a curriculum or a teacher or performance of anybody, I can go to the polls or I can join the board, which I did do, or I can, you know, go to those meetings and voice my opinion. So there's a path towards more comfort for us. And I think I really appreciate some of the guidance that people have given us. I mean, you know, referencing laws and bylaws and procedures and protocols, and I'm doing a lot of research and it's going to take me time, but that's how we move forward positively and effectively. So I don't know if that helped anybody with anything, but that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Lauren.
Okay.
There was a request for, does the board feel that Lindsay was fired appropriately, I think, and professionally. Those are pretty elastic terms, but does anyone care to respond with their feelings? I will move on. Yes, Sue. Wait, I want to make sure I've covered everyone else on this topic first. Okay, 1 second. Anyone else care to speak? If you're all second timers. No, Sue, go ahead.
Your attorney. Okay, so you've got a new attorney, and he's paid for by the town taxpayers.
Hold on.
I'm asking.
That didn't sound like a question.
Okay, it was.
Okay. Who is paying the attorney?
Who's paying the attorney?
The insurance company for the Vermont League of Cities and Towns.
And who pays to be in the Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns? The select board. The select board pays through our tax dollars to belong to the LTC, and
Yes.
therefore pays for the attorney.
No, hold on. 1 second, just clarification. The select board does belong to the Vermont League of Cities and Towns.
Yes,
And the select board also pays for an insurance policy.
yes,
It is the insurance company that is paying for the lawyer.
right, which is paid for by the town.
No, ma'am.
Harley, where does money to pay for insurance come from?
Through insurance dues.
Okay, and who pays the dues?
Would the dues change whether or not we made this action?
I'm not asking you that.
I am.
I'm just, go ahead.
No.
Okay,
I mean, no, they aren't paid whether or not we commit this action.
okay, so is the attorney getting paid an hourly fee? And this is a question. Is the attorney getting paid an hourly fee from the town along with the insurance dues that the town pays the LTC?
No.
So you're not paying another $300 an hour for an attorney. The LTC's just covering you.
Correct.
Now, how did the library board get put onto the policy of the town?
Because we're part of the town.
No, it's the select board. It's the select board's insurance company.
Isn't it because the select board pays for the salaries of the library?
I don't know, I'm asking.
That's a good question. We should find that out.
I'm asking.
The board is elected
And
separately, the library board.
it's separate
They
from
would
the
have their
select
own.
board.
Yes, it is.
So I'm wondering how you all got this attorney. And who's really paying for it? Am I paying?
I just explained who's paying
But I
for
don't
it.
think you're right.
So can you clarify that? You said the insurance company through the VLCT is paying for the lawyer that's representing the library board?
That's my understanding also, and I spoke to the lawyer yesterday.
That's, okay.
No, it's just, it's an insurance
And also
policy.
paying
So
the
that-
lawyer who's representing the select board.
Right, but those dues have come out from the town budget. I mean, the town has to pay for that.
I'm sorry.
Huh? The
No,
town
that's
pays,
not how it works.
who pays for the VLCT membership?
The town.
The town
Oh,
does.
yes,
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
membership fee does not change as a result of this action.
No, that's not what she was saying, no, but that's, okay.
Yes.
I have a small point of clarification.
Oh, go ahead.
The insurance company is PACIF.
All right.
It's associated with BLCT, and it is the town's insurance company.
Okay.
PACIF.
And I think you,
And I was gonna say that, except I can never remember what that whole acronym stands for.
I don't know what it stands for, but I remember the acronym.
So,
and I don't think you pay any addition, I think it's, you know, you're covered one way or the other, whether you need to,
Right,
Use
right,
it or
but
not.
it's dues that have to be paid by.
right, but
somebody.
you know, everyone's, you gotta be insured anyway.
Yeah.
well, yeah, it's if you go firing people.
Well,
No,
I know,
I
I
mean,
know.
but If somebody falls, if somebody trips and falls in the middle of the street and decides to sue, we have to have that insurance for that also. So it's not as if we garnered
So it's
extra.
just a bonus that you get to use it for what you did to Lindsay.
I suppose one could say that.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I do have a question about the, oh, sorry.
Although, it's the first time,
Yeah.
I saw Barbara's hand first.
I just wanted to go back to what Lauren said before,
Yes.
when she said, you know, we could vote and do all those things. But in the meantime, when can you tell us something?
If there was something I could tell you, I would have.
So we're never, we're never gonna know. We're never gonna know. All we know then is what happened at the town hall.
Wait till you're recognized, please. Corey, you had your.
Well, it's kind of just wanted to go back to, you guys said you're moving forward, but everybody's saying that we're not comfortable with that action. So what are you doing to sort of gain public trust, and like, what plans do you have for board training and or just reaching out to the community to work to regain public trust?
By listening to all the comments and trying to answer questions. That's one. Two, we are going to be doing a board training led by the Vermont Department of Libraries, the role of trustees, and library
It's
governance.
just a quick question on that. Has anybody on the board had board training before this?
Yes,
Okay.
but we
Not
have
for
two-
libraries.
Oh,
Right, but
oh.
just board training.
Yeah,
Okay.
And there's a lot of resources, and we're gonna be discussing those
there's a
things.
wealth of resources. Did I answer your question?
Those two, yeah, and then just the whole idea of putting forward, hiring somebody, again, how can you attract the best people if it is in such, you know, kind of quandary right now, like, and again, that you can, how can you assure that person coming forward that they won't be treated the same way, because I mean, the community is saying that that was a mistake. You guys are holding on to it, saying it's not, but that to me is not listening to the community weighing in on it. But how can you attract a highly qualified new librarian?
So the people that know the situation clearly are saying it was not a mistake. The community members who are frustrated at not knowing are saying it is a mistake.
Right.
That is a disagreement that
Yeah.
I don't see a resolution to.
Okay.
As far as hiring someone and making sure that they understand what how they will be, quote, treated, is the board's responsibility in hiring.
Sure. I mean, it's kind of a theoretical question, like how can you hire somebody who, when they see the press of what's happened and
Like
how
Ryan was treated.
yeah, and who would want to come work here, honestly? Like, it just doesn't reflect well on our community at all.
Jed's got something to say.
No, I don't.
Oh, Jed.
Well, Joanne,
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Joanne was waiting patiently with her hand.
It's Joanne.
I only have to be told 3 times in a single meeting.
I'd like to reiterate that though there's some major issues that we are still having disagreements about, and it's very disturbing to listen to. And I don't know if this is being recorded so that you can go back and listen to what's going on here. But meanwhile, the library is still operating on a day-to-day basis. And I think I tried to point out that we need a professional in here because the operation is not running according to the way it should be. The other thing about the Vermont Department of Libraries, they also have a job bank. And I highly recommend that the board take a look at it. Because trying to find not just a qualified person, but finding a body to come in here and work is not going to be easy. There are libraries all over the state who are looking for people. Qualified people, people who are willing to go take the courses so they can be qualified. This is not going to be easy. And now the Wells librarian, unfortunately, has had to leave. And I know in Manchester, when they have a job opening, it could take them 6 months to a year to find a qualified person. So take a look at that Vermont Department job bank.
So I got that. Prior to that, you said something that I grabbed my pen here, but it flew out of my head.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first thing before the Vermont Department of Libraries job bank part of your comment?
Something about the day-to-day operations of the library are still going on, and we need someone with a professional background to carry them out.
Okay. Yes, but that's not the thing that grabbed me that, like, oh, hold on to that, that's a good.
Was it to watch the?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Jed,
All you folks that are here with questions that I don't recall ever seeing in any other board meetings since this arose, why don't you go ask Lindsay why she was fired?
We're asking the public, they're publicly elected. They
Public
answer to the
should be
public.
concerned about both halves of the party.
You don't know if they did or didn't already, Joe. You don't know if they already did ask her or not.
Then why are they asking here?
Well, it's my presumption that Lindsay doesn't know why, but I don't know what you're suggesting.
That's a presumption.
But the board is publicly elected and they answer to the public.
Right.
That's why we're asking the board.
with some limitations.
Sure.
Rhonda, yes.
You said a little while ago that the people who know the truth, and the people who don't know anything. So who are the people who know?
That was a little harsher than what I said, but
No, I think that's what you said.
don't know.
And can you tell us who those people, who are the people other than the board? There are people out there who know why Lindsay was fired?
The board is what I was referring to.
Oh, because you said the people, and I didn't know we were talking only about the board.
Yes.
There's nobody else out there who knows.
Legal counsel,
Okay.
yes.
I just wanted to have that clarified when you said people who know. They know
Oh,
the truth.
yes, okay, I see it. It is, but no, I was referring to the board. I wasn't even thinking about legal counsel, but to completely answer your question, yes, legal counsel. Rhonda?
So this, my reaction was similar to Barbara's to that comment, and I wanted to follow up on my letter and some of the other previous comments that I feel that there's been a good degree of dismissiveness in response to the concerns that the community has raised. And this point that you've just made, Harvey, of, well, if you know, you know, and if you don't know, then it's just because you're unaware and ignorant of what has happened. I don't, and that's how it was read, that's how I read it, that's how I heard it, that's how Barbara heard it. And that is essentially, and over the past conversations, I feel like there's been a huge amount of deflection and lack of respectful reflection of the concerns that I and others have raised. Not, and distilling it down to needing to know the reason why somebody was fired. For me, it's about the quality and the capabilities, excuse me? The quality and the capabilities of the board to govern in a way that, as Kana was saying, reflects our values as a community and demonstrates the ability to treat somebody with dignity and respect and in a constructive way. And I would like to see the board address the way the public trust has been undermined, address and demonstrate to us that you are able to be accountable to the community by improving your performance or resigning if you're not able to do that, demonstrating your ability to professionalize your work, and then think about bringing in a librarian into a much more healthier environment and one in which there's at least been some effort to rebuild public trust and address, I think, the very real concerns that those of us who have been coming to these meetings because of concerns that are raised, who will pay more attention now because, you know, once the veil has been lifted on what's happening here, it's really concerning, and this library is a treasure. And I regret not paying more attention to the governance in the past, and I will in the future. But I think pushing forward and hiring somebody and ignoring and dismissing all the concerns that have been raised, I think is adding insult to injury, frankly. Thanks.
Thank you. I don't know how to do what you request without being open kimono about everything that has happened.
I have 3 points in my letter. Train your library board, report back to us on what you've been trained, report back to us on how you're changing your policies and procedures, update your policies and procedures, conduct a 360-degree evaluation. Very common procedure. I'm not asking anything that is outlandish or dramatic, and I'm asking for transparency in doing so and recognizing that there are challenges. I'm not saying, you know, I'm not going to use a lewd phrase, but I'm not asking for disclosure of things that shouldn't be disclosed. I'm asking for transparency and accountability, which is not, as you said.
Thank you. And that I agree with, and we will endeavor to do so and update the public as we move forward.
I think that's a bare minimum. Thanks.
Any other questions? Kana?
I just want to state that, I mean, I totally agree with, I'm not sure what your name is, Rhonda has to say, but I'm not quite as eloquent speaker as she is, but one of the things I feel is that the board is not managing the expectations of the public, and I believe that is a board responsibility, to manage the expectations, to anticipate questions, to be much more transparent. I'm not sitting here because I want to know why Lindsay was fired. That's none of my business, but the responses I've gotten from the board, or lack thereof, when asked directly, and hardly you ask the board, does anyone have any feelings or how do you feel about the way she was handled? Nobody spoke up except for the newest member of the board, and thank you for doing that. I'm very happy to have a new person on the board to help us with this and to help guide towards something more positive, but the lack of management of the expectations of the people in the town that have elected you, and some people have 3-year terms on this board, which is a long time. The lack of managing the expectation of, you know, the transparency, I think is part of my frustration and the failings I see of the board. And I think if you do the things that Rhonda says, and you are more transparent, and you are not as dismissive when we ask questions, and that's the way I feel. I can't speak for everyone. I felt very dismissed at times, or other people being spoken to have been dismissed in my perception of the way they've been spoken to. I mean, that is a board responsibility. And the woman over there at the end, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but Hi, Lori.
Hi.
You were saying,
Corey.
what is the
Corey.
board going to do to try and repair the town's confidence in this board? And I really feel like it's just deflected. There hasn't been responses back to us about that. Other than we can't disclose it, fine. I'm not interested in the financial aspects of the lawyer, but I have serious concerns about whether this board as it stands, new person accepted, is doing the best they can for the people of this town. And that's where my frustration comes from. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Kana. 6:30, and we have a hot date with our lawyer. One last question, Joanne?
I just want to understand, it's a question that comes to my mind, this woman has spoken, is that, I
Kana.
understand as chairperson, you're the spokesperson, but is there some reason why none of the rest of the board responds? Are they not
Yes.
permitted to respond?
The questions are directed to the chair responds. If somebody speaks up, I'm happy with that.
But somebody did have a question and asked the board members, could they express their feelings about what's going on?
That was the question, yes.
But nobody responded. So I
Right.
was wondering, are they not permitted to respond, or was it a personal decision that they all decided not to respond to us?
It was the key word in there was feelings.
Right.
And that was part of my question, and people may not be interested in sharing feelings.
Okay.
It is very
I also
uncomfortable.
said belief that it was handled professionally as well as feelings.
But they're permitted to if they wanted to, it's
Oh,
not.
God,
Okay.
yes. Yes.
But they've chosen not to. Right, they've all chosen.
No
not-
one spoke up.
Nobody spoke. Okay.
Okay,
So, just, it's short.
thank you.
So we still don't know why Lindsay was fired. Lindsay hasn't been told why she was fired. The only time we ever heard anything in a public meeting was at the select board meeting when someone turned around and yelled in Lindsay's face that it had something to do with Linda, the volunteer, and that Lindsay had been overseeing Linda and the board didn't like it, and so then they ended up firing Lindsay. And that's on tape from November. So that's what we've got to go by. And by the board not saying anything, to us or to Lindsay in all this time, and not admitting that maybe you could have done it better, maybe you could have done it differently, maybe you could have been more open with Lindsay, maybe you could have given her a chance to learn what she did wrong and make it right, whatever. What it ends up looking like is that the board didn't have a legitimate reason to fire her, and so made up this thing saying, oh, we don't like her, we're firing her, here's the email, so whatever it's in.
That's
Paraphrase.
That's your assessment
Yes.
I see. The person that turned around and quote yelled in Lindsay's face,
Yes.
was that a board member?
No.
Okay. Thank you. And
You know who it
there's
was.
still a lot of assumptions there that just are not true.
Because we have nothing to work with, and Lindsay has nothing to work with.
That doesn't mean
She
you
wasn't-
have to make assumptions.
So I'm just supposed to what, Harlan? What have we got to go on? What have we got to go on? What it looks like is that you're hiding stuff, and that you're not giving Lindsay a reason because there was no good reason. There was no legitimate reason, that you just decided you didn't like her, she didn't kiss the ring or whatever, and you fired her. And that's what it looks like.
That's
What it looks like.
Harley.
We have a new comment.
Yes, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Barbara. Did you say that Lindsay declined to have a meeting?
That's, yes.
When?
And
I won't get into that.
If somebody did have something like, I don't know,
that your private, we have rights to our privacy, and they did something wrong that was bad for, I don't know, something, gross negligence, maybe stole some money or something, would you be allowed to tell everybody what had happened?
I don't think so.
Why not?
It would be in the paper. You would call the police.
If I understand the question correctly, do I understand the question, Barbara?
Are you asking whether or not there's any circumstance in which we could disclose why we terminated?
No, that's
Okay.
what I'm asking. I'm asking if, I'm just trying to see if I were the librarian and I had done something wrong that meant that I had to be terminated. Chalk, not me. And I'm wondering if I would be protected from this information going out, or if this is something that would go out in public.
I think generally, people do not discuss personnel matters. I think that's a general thing. Unbelievable. Linda, you haven't spoken yet.
I just wanted to say that the board had nothing to do with my being fired by Lindsay. It was Lindsay. I had a board member with me, but he had nothing to do with having me fired. It was Lindsay that had me fired.
Well, that's the job of the library director.
And it was
her job.
It's her
That's
job.
fine. Absolutely, but the board
Absolutely.
had nothing to do with it.
Oh, I think I actually caused the problem, but for which she was fired. I caused that problem, but no, it's Lindsay's within her domain, for sure.
Yes, and then Lindsay was
Harley.
fired.
We have to go.
Okay. We're going to close off public comment. That was as far as, I'm speaking off the cuff, that never goes well.
No,
But
don't.
in terms of trying to build trust in the community, trying to respond and explain is probably a failed step, but that's my attempt anyways. Next.
So, the lawyer, right?
Yes.
Isn't that past time?
I have to look.
Yes.
Approval of minutes.
Well, Harley, but we have a meeting with him.
Yes, okay.
Wasn't it 6:30?
No, it was 6:10. So, I have language here that I gave to everyone.
Harley,
Yes, okay. 1 second.
what time, we're supposed to do a phone call with,
Yes, there wasn't a specific time. We were just
Yeah, no, it
supposed to call
was.
him.
I thought there was a time. He emailed us separately.
Okay, we didn't get the message then,
Yes.
so,
I have language here for the motion to go into executive session.
I move to find that premature general public knowledge of privileged attorney-client communications would clearly place the board trustees at a substantial disadvantage, including by revealing privileged information and waiving attorney-client privilege. Therefore, I move that we move into executive session.
Is there a second?
a second.
Where is that?
Is it all in favor? Oh, discussion? Okay.
Can I read it?
Yeah. Thank you.
It's down on the, it's under that, yeah, it's.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
When was that added? When was that added to the agenda?
Addition or deletion of agenda items, agenda approval comes before this step.
When was
Okay.
the-
Sorry.
When was the
I'm sorry.
executive session added?
I apologize. I didn't mean to jump the horse.
I moved ahead because of,
No, when was the executive session added to the?
I messed up.
She has an agenda that doesn't have executive session.
Yes, that's correct. So the next item of business is addition or deletion of agenda items, agenda approval. And so in red on the screen here are items added to the agenda. Executive session for attorney-client communications, consider possible workplace investigation, a policies effort. Those are items added. Something was removed, investigation request, and reworded up here, consider possible workplace investigation. That is going to be a possible move by the board after executive session. Do we have a motion to accept the agenda as written?
With the addition of those in red,
Yes.
I move that we accept the agenda with the addition of the items written in red.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we have the first, there was a motion moved to find that premature general public knowledge of privileged attorney-client communications would clearly place the library trustees at a substantial disadvantage, including by revealing privileged information and waiving attorney-client privilege. Do you want to move that again?
Yes, I'd like to move that again.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there another motion? The second motion?
The second motion, sorry, I move to enter into executive session for attorney-client communications and to invite the library attorney.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The board is now in executive session.